Joining me now for more on the latest with Iran is research fellow at the Institute for Counterterrorism at the IDC Herzliya, Dr. Fadi Essmaeel. Dr. Essmaeel, thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so first of all, I actually want to start with addressing the firing of Iran's intelligence minister, who hinted that Iran wouldn't be liable if it were pushed into making a bomb. Did he expose Iran's true intentions and that's why they doxed him, so to say, or are they really getting rid of him because he broke with the regime's intentions?
Like, who knows inside those dictatorial regimes what's going on, what's the internal politics? Look, we can't even tell the internal politics in democracies that are supposed to be somewhat more transparent. You don't fire somebody of that rank overnight. There's something building up there. And when you see those things, they're basically a tip of an iceberg that has to do with internal parochialism, internal infighting, things of that sort, like power structures that shift inside the regime. And we are short. It's actually a very complicated way to say a very simple fact. We don't know. In fact, there are things happening inside those corridors that we don't always understand. And by the way, that is true about any regime, any
So would
country.
we be wrong to read too far into that and say, like, he's breaking...
Unless you have a microphone, like I hope they have, is instilled somewhere in a room, in an office, and we've heard the discussions in plural, you wouldn't know until, these intelligence services, go figure.
All right, so now let's talk a little bit more concretely. A little bit more, we're still speculating to a degree, but Ambassador Gilad Erdan, Israeli ambassador to the United States in the UN, he recently said that the United States would lose all of its leverage if it rejoined the JCPOA that it left in 2018, and that only crippling sanctions combined with a credible military threat might bring Iran to real negotiations. Do you agree?
Possibly, yes, possibly, because look, President Biden is in a bind, in a way. If he continues the very effective process that we've been in the last 3 years, then he becomes only a second Trump administration in that sense, and basically validating what President Trump has done. And that is not something that he would like to do. At the same time, if he just goes back, it will be worse than the first time that we had a JCPOA signed, because that is an admission of defeat when there is no defeat, really. So far, the Iranians did not win anything. They have been under enormous pressure, and they did not do anything magnanimous to break the American pressure on them. So what are we going to do? Just withdraw all this pressure that was...
Well, so Biden, his team is apparently saying, tell Iran that until we won't lift the sanctions until you come back into compliance. But of course, Iran is saying the exact opposite.
Which is the Trump position. So we're back to the Trump policies, and that causes problems in terms of obvious troubles in terms of image and the internal policy inside the politics of the Beltway. You have to understand, regardless of Trump and his personality and the nonsense that he did in the last few months, or maybe before that, the policies, concretely, the policies that he implemented in the Middle East vis-a-vis Iran were very disruptive to what the Iranians were doing. The Iranians thrive when they can control the chaos, when they can project the chaos outside their borders. What President Trump did is basically he weaponized our own version of chaos and projected it into Iran. And this is something that totalitarian regimes don't do very well with. They cannot withstand when somebody inside is able to shake their internal economics, their internal politics, and so on. This is a very powerful weapon. And do you just give it away? Why? Only because Trump started with it? I trust President Biden. He is a smart guy. He's been in policy for the last 4 to 5 decades.
You're basically saying it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, he will put his own spin on Trump's policies. That's what I think he will do.
All right. I guess we'll see very soon with the outcome of what's going on. Dr. Essmaeel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.